I love this man who's on here today. I met him through my good friend Jerry Jewell. We interviewed him for Ability Magazine. He is a brilliant artist, musician, Donnie Demers. Donnie.
Hi, David. Hello, David.
Hi. I love this.
How are we doing with our our COVID-19 isolation?
I think okay. I think
Yeah.
okay. Overall, yes. I am doing good. I'm just, yeah.
I think for the people who really are the smarter people, oh, look at my face.
I love that. I love that. It's so you.
You know what it is? It's me not knowing how to do Zoom quite yet. So I gotta figure out this background thing. But getting back to what we were just talking about, I think that this is a time for all of us to take pause and really, I think it's a time to restart. Don't you think?
Oh yeah. The
Sort of
world's
this,
restarting. Earth is.
yeah. Well, I can't get this music off my face. David?
Is it a tattoo?
I like it. I like it. It's kind of cool.
Maybe
but it's a little bizarre.
It is sort of bizarre. But I love it. But I mean, I can understand. I wonder how you can get rid of it.
Oh, there we go. Look, there we go. I think it's probably in the setup. It's my wallpaper.
Oh, it's your, okay. Let's see the wallpaper change.
Yeah. So there we go. There's a little better.
A little better.
I got to, I don't know how to change it. Clearly, I'm not very well versed in Zoom.
That's okay. Luckily,
I'll bet you a lot of people are not. We're just sort of learning.
Yeah. No, I'm still learning. I still, I've got to buy a light so I can get more. Ooh, maybe I can turn on. I love this. See, this is Donnie and me. We just hang out.
We're just chilling.
We're chilling.
Exactly.
I love your music, by the way. When did you first know that you wanted to do music?
I was born with muscular dystrophy. And so Christmas time, muscular dystrophy MDA would have Christmas parties for families and people who were afflicted with the disease. And it would be at various places like the Elks Lodge or something like that. And I was about 3 years old, and I remember watching somebody in a wheelchair playing the piano on stage, playing a Christmas song. And I really quite vividly recall this. I remember thinking to myself, one day I'm going to learn how to do that, because I was so in love with the fact that this music was coming out of this person that looked like me, who was in a wheelchair and creating music. And I was just inspired by it at a very early age.
Yeah.
So what happened was, when I ended up going to elementary school, I got permission. Back then we had pianos in the classroom. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. Those little ones?
Yeah. And so I got permission, instead of going out to recess with all the other kids, I got permission to stay in and just bang around on the piano. This is the true story. Anyone who went to my school knows this.
Yeah.
I would do that. I taught myself how to play the piano that way. So I would bang on that piano from kindergarten to 6th grade, basically.
Yeah.
And so that's how I learned how to play the piano. And so I ended up doing the thing that I wanted to do when I was like 2 years old, 3 years old, watching that little boy up on stage play the piano. And here I am,
And there you are.
Yeah. So, I think that I was probably always meant to do that.
Yeah.
To play the piano and write music. But that was just my way that I found out that I could,
Got it.
So,
and what about your first, let's say, professional gig? When did you get to that next?
Well, I mean, technically, my first professional gig was probably the Jerry Lewis Telethon in 1982. You know, when we performed my original song that I wrote with a full orchestra, by the way, in Vegas with Jerry. And a lot of people remember that because I get emails and stuff from people saying, I remember watching you on that show.
Yeah.
And then the next year, I wrote their national jingle. You know, my
Okay.
co-writer, we did the national jingle for the Jerry Lewis Telethon that went from 83 to 84.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so that's how it started, really.
I remember I've seen the clip of you on stage.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, we had this like 3-minute standing ovation on national television, which is kind of unheard of. But Jerry just he went with the flow,
Right.
you know, and I think even he was surprised
Right.
because during rehearsal, we were just supposed to do our thing and get off stage.
Right.
You know, they introduced me. I actually had a piece with David Hartman from Good Morning America.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So we did this interview prior to my performance. I think that enhanced the whole experience. So by the time we finished, it was overwhelming for everybody, including us who were on stage performing.
Why overwhelming?
Because we weren't expecting that kind of response.
Oh.
You know, I mean, literally the audience jumped to their feet and they wouldn't stop applauding.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had never experienced anything like that before. So I was taken aback. And then Jerry came over to talk to me, which was not in the rehearsal. And we just took it from there. So, and then they had me on the next year and I did another song. I wrote their national jingle and yeah. So
now you said we.
It was great.
Who's we?
Me and Jimmy, my brother. He was 17 at the time. I was 22.
Okay.
And this girl, Kelly. So, yeah. I was still in college. You know, I came from the University of Arizona. I remember it was a big deal for Tucson. They did a whole thing about Donnie going to Vegas to be with Jerry Lewis. And it was, yeah. And
now,
it was
were you in the middle
sort of an
college?
overwhelming, it was a great.
It was a great. Were you in the middle of college at that time? And did you finish college?
I was in the middle of college, yes. Yes, I was, yeah. All the way coming from Boston, Massachusetts, went to the University of Arizona.
Right.
And I'd say my second year, I was invited to do the telethon. So it was, that was sort of my introduction to the pizzazz of Hollywood, you know?
Right.
But after the show, I remember Jerry telling me, you know, obviously the audience, that's what he called it, the audience likes you.
Yeah.
The audience. And, you know, if this is what you want to do, you should probably think of going to one of the music places like New York or Nashville or LA.
Right.
And so, yeah, I just decided like that following fall, I moved to LA and I've been there ever since.
Okay.
It was 1983.
You what? 1983?
That was 1983. Yeah. And I've been here since.
Who was the first person you met in LA that changed your life?
Okay. The first person, I actually met her in Massachusetts at my dad's restaurant. Okay. So I'm at my dad's restaurant. He had, you know, a bar. And this kid comes up to me. He goes, "Is your name Donnie Demers?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is." He goes, "Oh, wow, man. I used to push you around in junior high school." And I'm like, "Really? Okay." I had no idea who he was. Yeah. And he's like, "This is my girlfriend. Her name is Allison." I'm like, "Oh, hi, how are you doing?" No idea who she was.
Right.
So we're chatting, and I can, over in the other corner, I see people kind of like, "Oh, that's Allison. That's Allison." So it was Allison Arngrim from Little House on the Prairie.
You know, we had an interview the other day.
You're kidding me.
No, it was a joy to be with her.
Well, Allison and I, we have a history. She and I.
Oh my God.
Actually a big history. I lived with her for a while.
Okay.
So Yeah, we were like inseparable for a short period of time. Yeah.
Oh my God, she was telling
But
me
so what happened was,
she told me she makes the best lemon meringue pie.
among other things, yeah, she's actually, yeah. Yeah. So I moved to Azusa, which is outside of West Covina,
Okay.
because my aunt lived in West Covina. So I wanted to be near someone relative that I knew.
Right.
So Allison was my first contact. She was the first person that I knew outside of my family in LA. So I would drive into Hollywood. She had this condo that she owned at the time.
Yeah.
And I would spend like 3-4 days at a time there. And it was a great time in our lives. She was opening up at the Lap Factory before it was the Lap Factory
Yeah.
with Jamie Masada, who
Mm,
still owns it, I believe. And it was just a great time in Hollywood at that time. We would she would push me, her and her dad, and her manager at the time would walk down from her condo
mm.
to Lap Factory, do her show, go to Greenblatt's after, go back home, stay up till 3 a.m, doing whatever,
Oh my God.
sleeping the next day till noon,
Yeah.
And we did that for forever. Like it seemed like forever. So she was the first person that I actually, that was my friend in LA at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
God, that's not. It's nice to have good friends when you
Yeah.
get here, because otherwise it's like,
We don't see each other that often anymore, which is crazy. She lives, in East Bumfuck somewhere. I don't know. I've actually been there, but it's like,
I've been to West Bumfuck.
yeah, right. Believe it or not, the last time I saw her in person was in Provincetown in Massachusetts.
Okay.
We ran into each other there.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, she was my first contact. So yeah, that was the beginning of my LA experience, and from there,
Right. Now, you said you sang with your brother, or he did the singing, you
he
wrote.
sings. Right, he sings. I play and write. Yeah,
And when did he move to LA?
he moved to LA the year after I did because he was
Okay.
still in high school at the time.
Right. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
this is kind of annoying. This music, isn't it?
Well, it's
I hope it's going to be distracting for your viewers. I apologize.
no, because most of the time it's not the music, but then it comes there
Okay.
and
Right now it's not though, right?
yeah, it reminds me of like the Who and Roger Daltrey, and
Ah.
I don't know why, like Litzomania.
One of
But
those little cleavage,
I wish I could do it something like that with mine, but
Yeah. So David, what are you doing with the Meet the Biz group? Tell me about the Meet the Biz group.
well, I've been doing Meet the Biz for almost
First of all, where did that title come from, and what does it mean?
2008. I had been teaching for at least 5 years, if no, maybe even 8 years. Was teaching at the Media Access Office, and I was teaching actors, quote, with disabilities. And finally in 2008, after taking acting classes myself from Corey Allen and the Margie Haber studio, I went, we're in LA. I mean, we're all actors here, and I want to bring all actors to work together to stretch ourselves. So I thought, okay, what's a title? Meet the Biz. Oh, I like biz. And I took it and I started it and I went, I don't know if I like it, because some people said, meet the biz. I don't want to pay to meet the biz. And I was thinking, yeah, but you don't pay to meet them. It's a class. You have different teachers like Corey Allen come in. He gives you he starts you with an emotional setting and whatever he used to do. Or Lainey Kazan comes in and you do exercises and you do scene work and you work with these professionals.
Right.
And I
So
think
they're like master classes almost.
yeah, and they could be one day, one night. Usually they're about 3 to 4 hours, or they could be a 4-week workshop.
Okay.
So I think it took a year until I finally liked Meet the Biz, because I realized it wasn't necessarily, it could be, it wasn't necessarily the teachers or the instructors or the professional industry guests that were the biz,
Right.
but it was the students. And
Right.
those teachers would be meeting the students who were also in the biz, and they were also a plethora of different types of people.
Right. So it's just sharing war stories, if you will.
Sharing war stories and learning to live and live with them. You know, share, like you said, share the stories. And
Well, was your initial goal to incorporate people with disabilities, or was it just anyone in general?
no. It was definitely, I had been working with people with disabilities, because I started as an assistant in Mary Ring's Born to Act Players, and then I started doing my own classes through Gail Williams and Gloria Castaneda at the Media Access Office. But in 2008, I said, no, I want to bring in the actors, all actors, without disabilities.
Right. Right.
But ultimately, I just opened the door and say, hey, come to the acting class. People walk into the acting class, and at first they might go, whoa, what's this going on here? And by the end of the 3 hours, they're like part of the family.
Well, you're such an advocate for people with disabilities. And so my question is, was there someone special in your life growing up or whatever that wasn't, like everyone else, say, that you befriended or that you felt needed, you know?
No, I was laughing because I thought, how did you get to interview me now?
Oh, you're right. Oh my God, that's right. I do that.
I love it, though. I love
You're
it.
right. People do tell me that. I do apologize.
No, I'm glad that you did it, because I haven't done
Well,
this
I
yet.
just automatically go that, you know me, David. I just go there because, I'm inquisitive like everybody else.
And you know what? I'm open to it.
Yeah.
That's what this is. It just, we go with the flow.
Yeah. So to answer my question,
Yes.
Did you know anyone growing up or later on that you admired or inspired you or that you wanted to sort of reach out to? I'm guessing that's a no. It looks like a no.
No, not really. I mean, my dad did always have some, I mean, the sweetest man, but he had so many physical issues. Maybe, when he got a little older,
Yeah.
whether it's, hearing aids, or whether it's
Yeah.
heart issues, or, the list goes on. I won't go into them,
Right.
but it wasn't, I didn't consider him, I don't look at, I look at someone, even toward the end of my dad's life, I looked at him and it was my dad. I didn't see him in a way older. It was just
No,
like,
of course not. Right. And anyone who knows me
yeah,
sees beyond, the wheelchair and all that stuff. That's not even a part of it.
yeah.
But, when we do something and we're passionate about it, like yourself, and Meet the Biz, there's usually a driving force behind it, something that inspired you.
The driving force is I got to LA and I felt like it didn't fit in. I didn't feel like
There you go.
fit.
Now we're talking.
Oh,
Exactly.
this is
So,
therapy with Dr. Demers.
Exactly. But you know what? And you mentioned that earlier, you weren't one of the popular ones or whatever. And a lot of people with physical challenges or otherwise are usually sort of sent to the back and they're not as popular as others. I do want to say this. The reason why I didn't have that problem in high school or junior high is because my brother was the toughest guy in the neighborhood. That's the only reason why. So no one would dare fuck with me because they were essentially fucking with my brother.
Right. Don't
So,
mess with my brother.
Exactly. But, I do understand that because, and really, it's not just about people with physical challenges.
Yeah.
It's about anyone who doesn't fit into the mainstream for whatever reason.
Yeah.
The challenge is we all want to belong or to be part of. And when we can't be a part of, we sort of go into our head and become an introvert in many ways,
Right. Right. Which I,
So,
at this time in this COVID-19, I'm sort of like, I'm not being an introvert. I'm being an
well, we all are really.
extrovert. Yeah, we all are in our homes. Um, but and it was, I think it took a year when I was in LA and I was sitting at this birthday party and I knew one person, and this one girl said, "So how are you enjoying LA?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay, but I mean, I don't know how to schmooze." She said, "No, it's not
Right.
schmoozing, it's just being yourself." And that clicked with me.
Yeah.
But, and I think what I loved, not that I felt different than others and I related to the community, the disability community, it was that the love that I got, the friends that I connected with were real.
Right. They're
More,
transparent.
yeah. I mean, it was no bullshit. It
Right.
was, and that's why I was just attracted to the community.
Yeah. And it
Like,
kind of makes sense too, because in a way, people with physical challenges can't hide behind a facade because it is what it is.
right,
I can't pretend to be glamorous, if I have a condition that is different from others. I can't pretend. Where a lot of people in Hollywood pretend, you know.
and I
So
don't. Yeah,
you don't get real people as much. And I think that's really what you're speaking to, is that you found a realness, a more connectability to people uh, in the disability community.
well, I mean, opening
Sense,
the door, opening the door to Corey Allen's class, and Jerry Jewell walks in, and we click right away because
and how could you not? And how could you not with Jerry? You know?
you can't. She's so real. She's so funny. She's so loving. She has her
Right.
good moments and bad moments, like most of us do, but she doesn't
Follow
necessarily hide them. It's like,
it
hey,
at all.
take me or leave me. This is me.
Which is the beauty of her in particular, yes. But a lot of times people hide behind all of that. She embraces it,
Right.
which is
Yeah.
why I love
And that's the thing too. I mean, yes, I teach classes, but I tell you, I learn just as much as being a teacher from the students.
it. Right.
I
Well,
mean,
don't you think all good teachers do though?
I
They
do.
do.
I
They're
think all good
constantly.
teachers do that.
I bet you're a great teacher, David.
Oh, I didn't even,
Of
I didn't
course you
even
are.
say what?
Of course you're a good teacher.
Yeah, I'm,
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I enjoy
Yeah.
it. I'm a people person. I'm a
Right.
people person. What is, swinging back around to you now for a second, what is one of your favorite pieces that you have written?
Um, that's an interesting question because, about 8 years ago,
Mm.
we did this album, really lush, very well produced.
I think that's the one that I have.
Probably, yeah.
I
But it
love it.
wasn't released, and it's still not released.
It's not released yet?
No, it ended up being shelved, which is a travesty. It's really horrible. But so when we were no, it wasn't even that album. It was Jimmy's record on Concord Records.
Okay.
Um, he did this album called Dream a Little, and he wanted a bunch of my songs on that album, but I had to go through the process like everybody, submit my material, and they would decide, whatever. So we went into a studio and started going over a bunch of my songs. And he goes, play that song you wrote called It's a Lonely World. And I'm like, I don't even remember that song. He goes, you remember it, blah, blah, blah. I went like this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I remember. But no, we're not doing that song. And he said, well, play it for Terry, who was one of the executive producers.
Yeah.
on the project. And so, I reluctantly played it. I was uncomfortable because it was an early song that I had written, and I wasn't secure in my writing back then. So I just didn't think it was worthy of the project. So I ended up playing for Terry, and I'll never forget, after I finished and Jimmy sang it, Terry said, if any of your songs are on this album, it's going to be that one. And I was like, no way. So we ended up doing it. A guy by the name of Corey Allen did the arrangement.
Corey Allen?
Yeah, not your Corey Allen, my Corey Allen.
Yeah.
He's an arranger, great piano player arranger.
Yeah.
I didn't know him at the time. I heard his arrangement after they recorded the strings. And I'll never forget, this song that I was uncomfortable with brought me to tears. And I remember playing it. Jimmy played it for Paula, and Paula Abdul, and she called me from her car crying, playing it. So that, I would have to say, ironically, is my favorite song. But isn't that interesting how it went from being a song that I was very insecure about because I didn't feel that it was worthy of that project. But
Right.
you can go on Spotify or iTunes or whatever, and listen to it. Anyone who's out there wants to hear it, I'd love to hear what you have to think about it. But it's called "It's a Lonely World" by Donnie Demers.
Okay.
That's my favorite song.
Is it on YouTube as well?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's everywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will have to hear that.
It's I wrote that probably in my second year of college. Yeah. So, but I don't really. I mean, if I had to pick a favorite, that would be it. But they're like children to me.
Yeah.
They really are. I think most songwriters will say that. They're like babies, so you really can't have a favorite.
Yeah.
But if I had to, it would be that one, I think. But interestingly enough, David.
Yeah.
I usually can't listen to the stuff I've recorded for months after because I'm in such critical mode.
Yeah.
I can't listen to it. I get so frustrated. I should have done this. I should have done that. And it's all done and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And you've spent like, $100,000 on this album and there's nothing you can do about it.
It's the should-haves.
That's the should-haves. So I can't listen to it. But it's interesting because another arranger who worked on the following album that we did, the one that is shelved.
Yeah.
Great arranger. His name is Kenny Werner.
Yeah.
And I hadn't listened to the songs he did of mine for a few years anyway. Mm-hmm. And I was listening to it the other day, this one particular song. And I was just it was like almost like I didn't write it, and I was so moved by his work on that. So I just sent him an email. I'm like, randomly, I'm listening to this track and I'm hearing your incredible, brilliant work. And I haven't talked to the guy in a few years anyway. And he wrote me back and it's like, you know what? Thank you for saying that because I really needed to hear that.
Mm.
So it's like everything happens the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're all just fucking insecure artists, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
Trying to do the best we can.
Yeah.
With whatever we have, and yeah.
Yeah. By the way, thank you. What was it? 2 years now, or is it a year and a half for
when we did your thing?
Yeah, the Breath of Love concert.
Yeah. First of all, take me out of the equation. It was amazing. The talent up on that stage, I was so blown away. So many of them that I wasn't really expecting. I wasn't expecting that really. It was
one of the things I'm most proud of. Because I love, again, connecting people, and it's not just to put on a show. It's about the people that are on the stage that I feel these people might really get along after this show's over too, and might create together.
A lot of us did, yeah.
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 One other question that I had, it goes along those lines. I always aim for the positive stuff in life, even though we have those negative times, and then we create from those as well.
Yeah.
What is a memory? Like I was saying that it took me a little while to maybe a year to really sink into LA, and it took me a little longer to really connect with my tribe.
Mhm.
What when you think of LA and a positive memory, if you had to pick
Mhm.
one memory at this moment, what would it be?
Hmm. Um, in
Or
LA.
yeah, LA or the business. It doesn't necessarily have to go just to LA. It could be anywhere in the world.
There's been a bunch of them actually. There's been a lot of great moments in LA that I've had the great fortune of being a part of, like playing for Miles Davis, and Donna Summer. Um,
Oh, I didn't hear
Jimmy,
that you played for Donald
well,
Summer.
did you know that they were both artists? First of all, they're
Whoa,
both.
yeah.
So Jimmy and I were the musical entertainment for one of their art showcases in Beverly Hills
Yes.
years ago, like
Right.
1989 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'll never forget Miles Davis coming up, and he's like, "Man, you play great keyboards." And first of all, I don't consider myself a piano player. I'm a songwriter that plays the piano to facilitate my songwriting.
Yeah.
In no way do I think of myself as a piano player,
Uh-huh.
but I do have a great affection for the piano. So, and I probably treat the keys with that respect.
Yeah.
So some people relate to it in that, and I fool them and think that I can play the piano.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, he came up and he was like, "Man, you play great keys." I'm like, yeah, you're like Miles Davis, And
Yeah.
and Donna Summer too, who I had met before, by the way. I love her because we're both from Massachusetts.
Right.
But Miles Davis is just like, he's an icon.
Yeah.
Not that Donna Summer isn't
Right.
or wasn't, but yeah, and they're both gone now.
Ah,
But
both
that
from,
was a highlight for me. A sort
yeah.
of a great moment in living out in LA. That wouldn't have happened anywhere else.
Yeah.
You know,
It is
certainly.
great when somebody that you have admired or admire
Yeah,
comes up to you and says, "Wow, love what you do."
exactly. Or meeting Norman at my friend's house.
Yeah. Norman Lear.
My friend had Norman over for cocktails, and I don't even remember what it was for, but Norman co-owned Concord Records with the guy that brought me and Jimmy to the label,
Mm-hmm.
Al Gaba, who I loved so much, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And he and Norman were partners at Concord.
Mm.
They're great friends, and I got to meet Norman that way, you know. And so those are the type of experiences that would not happen anywhere else but LA.
Yeah. What a
So,
yeah. What a gorgeous man Norman is. Just
I mean, I have to say, probably one of my favorite people of all. Yeah.
talk about real. I mean, there's not a
You
drip
know,
of anything that's false about him.
well, the thing that I love, he's like a sage. Every word that comes out of his mouth is a fucking awe. What? It's just resonates,
Yeah.
It's so empowering. I mean, yes, probably coupled by the fact that he's 97. Well, at the time, he was a youngster. He was in his 80s when I met him.
Wow. Yeah.
But every word that comes out of his mouth is thoughtful. It's almost legendary,
Mm-hmm.
He probably, because he has a well of things to draw from. But I'm just inspired by him all the time.
Yeah.
And again, something that would not happen if I didn't live in LA, So,
Well, Donnie, I'm so
yes.
glad we did this.
I'm so glad we had this
Uh,
time.
together. And
Another one. Another great. She's another great.
she's, oh yeah. I mean, yeah. Now this is, thank you for this visit. This like, it's nice. Let's
I
do
know,
more.
David. You know, I've been putting it off because I'm like, well, what am I going to talk about? I have nothing to say really. It's like,
Oh, yeah,
no
right.
one wants to hear from me.
Oh,
I,
bull.
I know they want to see the music on my face, though.
And no, those aren't tattoos.
No.
Do you have a tattoo?
Oh my God, that's my bathrobe in the back.
That's okay. I have my boxes and my life magazines that I'm
Nice.
moving on from.
Fabulous.
I have now gone through all 60 boxes.
Oh my gosh, Loud, congratulations. That's quite a feat that you probably would not have done had it not been for COVID-19. And by the way, I'm not in LA.
Oh.
I'm in Boston.
Oh, I love Boston.
That's where I'm at. That's where I'm spending my
COVID.
coronavirus time. Yeah.
Well, please come and visit us at Performing Arts Studio West and Meet the Biz one of these times. And
I can't wait to come home, really. I mean, I've been gone for so long, it feels like.
And I'm gonna, well, I'll tell you later about this surprise special show that I'm thinking of putting on once we get
You've
out.
always got something up your sleeve, David, don't you?
I don't have no sleeves.
Yeah, well, you've always got something up there, which is great.
All righty.
By the
Well,
way,
what?
you went and saw Ronnie, right, over at Vibrato.
Brilliance.
Beyond.
Brilliance. Oh
She's
my God.
beyond.
You know, I've known her for what we're talking about, Ronnie Martin.
Of course we are. Yeah.
And this amazing woman I met when I first got to LA. We lived in the same building.
Wow.
Did you know that?
No, I did not know
We
that.
were neighbors, and she gave me a CD back then, and it was, and then we lost track of each other, I think for like 18 years. I like that number.
Wow.
18.
Wow.
And then we ran into each other again, and I finally saw her at Vibrato, I think it was, 3 months ago?
And did you not feel like you were in the presence of a legend?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
She is, unfortunately, and by the way, it's not unfortunate because I do still think that she's going to make it. But she is like a lot of people that fall through the cracks. You know, they should have been legends because she's as good as Gladys. She's as good as so many of those greats. Ronnie is a great. She's a great. And unfortunately, time didn't give her that platform that it gave to Gladys Knight or Aretha Franklin or Barbra Streisand or a lot of the greats, you know. But Ronnie should be right up there. She's not a background singer. She is
that woman has some chords.
No, she's a legend. She's a legend. And
exactly.
And she's so humble, you know.
Well, that's what makes her a legend.
Yeah. And she's not bitter either, which I love, you know, because that can happen.
She's in the moment.
Yeah.
She's in the breath of her life and enjoying it. And that's, you know, when they say whether you're an actor or performer or you, whatever you do, and you're reaching for that goal, it's not about that end moment. It's about the process and living the life.
Right. For real though, she should be in one of you Meet the Biz. She should be one of the people that you have people asking her questions.
Hear that, Ronnie?
Oh. You know why?
We've talked about it.
She's an inspiration to not just youngsters, but she's an inspiration to anyone that has a God-given gift that feels that their time has run out. Because I've always said this, the only clock that runs out is the clock that you let run out. She can still make it because she honestly has the power to be just as popular as any of those kids out there today. She just needs a break, you know?
Wow. I love what you said about the clock running out, because it's not running out
Yeah.
until it's
I
ran out.
told her that.
And that's for everyone. That's for you. That's for me.
Everybody.
We're here. Create.
And the thing is, I always say this too, to real super talent, you know, and this applies to the gifted people, because, you know, it's easy to give up, you know, because let's face it, we're very vulnerable as artists. You know, we're frail in so many ways, but we're not.
Mm.
You know, it's this weird thing. But, you know, at the end of the day, if you give up, you're just making room for someone else to fill that spot. So why not just hang in there? You know, hang in there with all your might, because eventually it may not happen as grandiose as you want it to, but it's going to happen on a level that's going to make you go, wow, I'm so glad I waited, you know? And that's really what you have to do. Otherwise, you're making room for someone else, some schmuck that has half the talent that you have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Do it. So if there's anyone that needs that empowerment to hear that message, you know, look no further than your mirror, for God's sakes, because that's where the power lies.
Use your space that you're in.
That's right, exactly. And we continue to do that, right, David?
Yes, Donnie.
Exactly.
And thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad we did this, finally.
Yay!
I'm sorry for my ignorance with Zoom, but I sort of kind of like it.
I like it. There's no ignorance with Zoom. I wish I could do that, but my computer's a little older and it won't do that.
You might be able to. Who knows?
Maybe.
All right. So how do we sign off? We just say bye.
Bye.
Beautiful song.